Hello, everyone. I have no idea if anybody else is on here yet. Sorry, I was a minute late, I think. Hope you can hear me okay. See me okay. So if you are here, let me know. Someone's here. Or is that me? There we go. Skeleton Key says hi. Genre Book says hi. Hello. Welcome. Genre Books, I knew you were coming. How did I know? Skeleton Key came last time. Skeleton Key actually told us that she was working on a poetry anthology. So, how is that going? Stayed up especially. Really? What time is it where you are? Skeleton Key is on the final of proofreading, I think. Okay, that's good. When is the release date? I think we asked you that, but I'm sure I wouldn't remember. Okay, so it's midnight where Genre Books is, which I'm not sure where that is, but yeah, midnight. Okay. So that's 5 hours difference from us here on the East Coast of the US. Genre Books. Okay, yeah, midnight here. Oh, book chat with Pat. Hello, Pat. She says, hello, everyone. All right. Well, that's 3 people here. Skeleton Key said, depending on how long it takes to figure out KDP. Not sure what that is. But yeah, Skeleton Key was telling us about her. I guess she was doing a proofreading of an anthology of poetry. Okay, Kindle digital publishing. Okay, I see. So it has to be formatted a certain way, I'm sure, for Kindle. That sounds like it's no small job. So, and how many people are working on this, and how many poems are going to be in there? And do poems have genres? Because I didn't know. I had to look it up. But now I know. This is going to be a long answer, so we got to wait for a minute. 3 of us working on this final phase. Okay, wow. Wow. Yeah, great. Great job. And Pat, I see that you are taking on some horror books. How is that going? I know you did the one about the house, kind of like I guess, a haunted house. I think you're working on a Stephen King right now. Dabbling in horror. Just posted my review of King's Carrie. Oh, okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Carrie is both horror and a banned book. Yeah. Is it still on banned lists? Because I know it was. And that's actually one of the things back in 1973 or 4 or whatever that started making it popular. Is that, there were people that were against that type of thing being published. Okay, so Skeleton Key says earlier we had the contest team helping us, and a few others getting the structure together. Yeah, okay. So not just 3 people working on the whole project, but you're down to 3 in this phase. Yeah, I can imagine. And there's another person helping with the cover design. Awesome. Well, I hope you're planning on doing a segment about that so we can see how everything turns out. Book Chat with Pat said, no, not now, but it was top 100 banned books from 1990 to 2000. Okay. Wow. Wow. It's just amazing what ends up being banned. But yeah, I mean, I think most people would be surprised to hear that. You know, they don't think about that. So anyway, all right. And genre books, what is it that you are reading right now? Because I'm reading a book called Stolen, and it is set in Sweden, and it is actually about like the native people in Sweden, the indigenous people. They are reindeer herders, and there's someone who is going around killing the reindeer. And there's a little girl that kind of gets onto it and really wants to do something about it. And so, like this beginning part, I'm only maybe a quarter of the way through. It's a lot that's kind of like going on in her head and what she's thinking about everything. She's just a small little kid. I think she's like, 8 or 9 years old or something. So that's what I'm reading right now. Skeleton Key said about 200 poems in all. We're catching up on 3 years of contests that didn't get published when the pandemic hit. Wow. All right. Awesome. And this is in Colorado, right? So it's all kind of like local, I'm sure, like local authors and things like that. That's what I understood from last time. So awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, I didn't prepare a whole lot of material for tonight because genres is like, whoa. It is a big subject. But it seems that there are kind of like 4 main categories, which are, of course, fiction, nonfiction, drama, and poetry. But that depends who you talk to, too. You might find some different information if you poked around long enough. But I thought that sounded about right. Kind of those 4 main categories. And then underneath it, you have a lot of different genres for fiction because it can kind of go anywhere. And I was just reading here the difference between like literary fiction and genre fiction. It says here that literary fiction describes work that's character driven and realistic, whereas genre fiction generally describes work that's plot driven and based on specific tropes. So I guess that's where you would get a lot of, different genres there. Mystery, thriller, like the book I just read that I just reviewed, as a matter of fact, is Middle Tide. I just reviewed that this week. And for genres, now this is on Goodreads, and again, depends who you talk to. On Goodreads, it says that it is mystery thriller. That would be a 2-word genre, but it's also each word is in another genre. Fiction, which I would have put the fiction first. Romance, I would say it had romance in it. Yeah. Suspense, contemporary. That's pretty wide open. Crime, adult. That's good because it tells you what audience it's for. And literary fiction. So that would be, they're saying, more of a character driven. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I would agree with that, but it's amazing the different, labels you can get on it. So let's see. Poetry Society of Colorado, mostly Colorado, but a few people who've moved away but stayed active. And I'm reading a variety of genres these days. Mystery buff, but I love cross genre stuff. Yeah, I know. Me too. Me too. I like. I've always liked mysteries, thrillers, things like that. Kind of. That's kind of one of my go-to things when I'm not sure what else I want to read. I'm usually in the mood to read a mystery, so that's okay. Um, but yeah, they do. Then you can have something contemporary. You could have even a mystery that is based on a true story, or is a true story as a nonfiction book. So yeah, a lot of different directions. You could see the dilemma of once I started looking at some different information, I thought, this is going to be quite the discussion. Let's see. Book Chat with Pat said, I've found since I've been on BookTube that I am definitely exploring genres I never really read much of before. Yeah, me too. And just in general, books that I probably would not have picked up. I think this one, Stolen, is a good example. Ellen Maid, who sometimes pops in, but she lives in Sweden, so it's like 3 o'clock in the morning there or something. So she's probably sleeping, and good for her. She should be. She was the one that brought up this book and then asked if anybody wanted to do a buddy read with her. So I'm doing that for this month. But really, not that it isn't my type of book, and I mean I'm enjoying it, but I probably just wouldn't have. It wouldn't have come to my attention. I seriously doubt. Wouldn't have come to my attention without being a booktuber and having somebody else kind of generate my interest in it. So is there anybody else that's reading that right now with her book club? I'm not sure. And even just the banned books now, look, we have a horror book that's been banned. There was one, Looking for Alaska, says that it's LGBT plus, and that was one of the reasons it was banned, and it's not. And on Goodreads, there is no LGBT genre on it, so I don't think so. So it's just strange. But one of the things I ran into as well is that on Amazon, one of the reasons why I think there's they say 16,000 different genres. I don't think there's 16,000 genres, but 16,000 categories that you can search for books. So this becomes really important, maybe not as much for a reader, but more so for a writer, to be able to market that book and have it, come up in all of these different search engines and stuff. I think that's why you hear so many different designations that maybe in the past you had, never heard of before. So Genre Book says, BookTube has led me down some odd roads. Yep, you could say that. With the Summer of Sport event, I've found 2 volumes of poetry about cricket, which I may inflict upon people. Okay, yeah, that's good. And even poetry has genres. Now, I wouldn't have really thought about that so much, but that was another thing I looked up. Poetry can be like epic. What else did they have under poetry? Oh, I can't even remember now. Oh, like limerick style. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have maybe called that a genre, but I guess it is when you think about it. So Book Chat with Pat said most of the books that are on the current Pan America list seem very targeted. Oh, Pen America, yes. Books about race, books by people of color, books about LGBTQ issues, and this is different from the past, I find. Yeah. It is different from the past. I don't know why exactly they were saying Carrie, was a banned book. I'm assuming all that blood and stuff, you know, and that was at the time that you start hearing about a lot of satanic things and stuff like that. And here's this, young person who's kind of like challenging her mom's religious beliefs and, comes up having this power and stuff like that. So, yeah. But now, yeah, it's mostly people of color and LGBTQ, it seems, just about every book. I think of poetry as having many different forms or types. Epic, narrative. Okay, yeah, there you go. Epic, narrative, lyrical. But I don't know that I'd necessarily call the different types of poetry genres. I know. I know. I guess you could, but I don't know. Now, here's a question. Who has the official word on this? Does anyone? I mean, it seems like it's a wide open door. So Amazon has walked through it in order to, market books. And writers now have to kind of, have some knowledge or hire somebody that has some knowledge of that if they want their book to be out there, I guess. That's the way it seemed to me from what I read. But who decides this stuff? I mean, it's not the way necessarily that you would see things like categorized in a library or anything. Under nonfiction, well, I guess you'd have, crafts, you'd have biographies and things like that, and how-tos, mechanical things or something. I don't know. Does that match the Dewey Decimal? I don't know. I don't know who has any kind of official say in this. It seems like there should be a way to designate it that is a little more structured. So Pat said, okay, I think of poetry. Yeah. So Skeleton Key said, BookTube has me reading more romance than I ever imagined. Are you enjoying it? Sometimes I enjoy romance. I actually read, let's see, what did I read this year that was romance? Well, I guess this Middletide one, I thought that the book had probably, if you want to talk about a character-driven situation, I mean, the two main characters were, had been in a relationship and then kind of, I think both wanted to get back together, but, of course it wasn't really working out, which is the typical romance kind of situation anyway, but which is the typical romance kind of situation anyway. But yeah, so that had some romance. But then also I read The Kiss Quotient last month, April? Yeah, for Autism Month, because one of the characters was a neurodivergent character, had Asperger's. So I read it for that reason, but it was a romance and it was good. I enjoyed it. Skeleton Key said to Pat, I agree. Genre doesn't seem like the right word. Yeah, kind of doesn't. Carrie was challenged for language. Oh, was it? Okay. Sexual activity, satanic sequence, anti-Christian message, which is a misunderstanding of the book. Yeah, I think so too. And that's not what was in his mind when he wrote it. That was his first novel, and he goes into detail in his book on writing on how he came up with that idea. He actually took two different concepts and kind of put them together and came up with that story. But he wasn't thinking of any kind of satanic thing or anything like that. Genre Book said Skeleton Key can confirm, but with Amazon, I think the authors are picking their own categories when they come to publish on the platform. Yeah, I think they are, but I think they have to choose carefully in order to, maybe be in that search engine at all. I mean, number one, it must be gigantic on Amazon, but also with 16,000 categories, seems like a lot. Um, I don't know. That's a good question, but I'm thinking, yeah, they do have to pick, but they probably should pick carefully as well and know something about why they're picking what they're picking and making sure that that's appropriate for their book. Let's see, some of it. The younger booktubers are obsessed with smut, though, and I'm just bored by it. Oh, so the romance. Yeah. I've been around long enough to know where what goes. Yeah. Yeah. They're not how-to manuals. But yeah, I get what you mean. I'm sure romance has changed over the years too to mean a little more something with more sexual content uh, than maybe back when I was in high school or something like that. So, yeah, I hear you. A vague disclaimer is nobody's friend. Yeah. I always say, know what you're getting into. I say that on my book reviews actually pretty often. Maybe you should know what you're getting into. When a book has something that's really sad or difficult or hard to confront. Sexual abuse would be a good one, physical abuse, even emotional abuse, all of that stuff. I try to mention it and say, know what you're getting into. There's nothing wrong with that. But when they go as far as banning the things, that crosses then, a whole different line, because who's to say what's what? And times have changed, and times are changing, and hopefully they will continue to change. Um, you know, so yeah. Genre Book says, as far as I'm concerned, if the isn't in armor and on a horse, it's not romance. Oh, okay. Is the prince or is the knight or something? I can't even roll that down enough to really see. Oh, wait a minute. Let me close this. Yeah, I still can't see it until it moves up because it got some kind of emojis over it or something. But yeah, I don't know if anybody knows either. There is a website that I actually got from somebody else's YouTube videos. And now this is concerning mainly horror books. It's called didthedogdie.com. And you can go on there and it will tell you pretty explicitly what happens in a horror novel that could be very triggering. Um, Animal torture would be one thing, or an animal dying in a book, a non-horror book even. It's so that's why they call it did the dog die.com or does the dog die.com. I'm not sure exactly which one it is, but yeah, and I went on there. It was interesting. It was really interesting. Now you might get some little spoilers, but it's probably better to know in some of those cases. And there may be one for romances and how much sexual content to expect from some of those romance books too. There may be a website like that. Who knows? Oh, if the guy isn't in armor and on a horse, it's not romance. Yeah. Well, usually they are. You know, usually they are. They're they're kind of fictitiously in armor and on a horse because they're, you know, good looking and muscular, and they're kind to their mom and animals, and they have a good job, and yada yada yada. Yeah. They're usually all of those things and more. But that's okay. That's fine. Skeleton Geek says, "Ah." Dawn Walters. Hey, Dawn, how are you? I want to like the fantasy genre. Okay. But I need simple fantasy, not all these complicated worlds, realms, etc. Any recommendations of what to dip my toe into for fantasy? That is an excellent question. I am definitely not the one to answer it, but I bet you someone here can. Um, Fantasy, by the way, another thing I looked up, the number one genre. Can you believe that? The number one genre is fantasy. Where did I get that? 30 book, let's see, list of book genres. No, I got it on one of these websites. Oh, and the 95 most popular. Okay, here we go. It says most popular fiction. No, now that one shows fantasy as number 10. So I guess it depends what website you go on, but very popular anyway. Let's say top 10. Let's say top 10. And Skeleton Key, Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Reed. It's YA, but the humor works for older audiences. Yeah. There was one fantasy book that I read, not that recently, it's kind of old now, but the book Eragon, Eragon. It's by Christopher Paolini or something like that. He was very, very young when he wrote it. He's probably in his 30s now or something. But it was based on stories that he used to tell to his, I think, little sister, because they were homeschooled. The parents were, very intelligent, very well educated people, and they homeschooled their kids and they did a very good job with it. And that was one of the things that he would do, is make up all of these stories. And he made up a story about a dragon, and it was called Eragon. And I read that book and I enjoyed it. That's probably the last fantasy book I read. And I mean, easily it was 15 years ago, probably more. But that one's a good one. That one's a good one. Yeah, Christopher Paolini. Not sure how to pronounce it, but anyway, yes, that's him. Discworld series from Terry Pratchett is a great fantasy intro. I think I ran into one of those books at the Goodwill the other day, but I'm not sure. And does not have to be read in order. Yeah, which that's always kind of a plus. That's always kind of a plus. But yeah, speaking of books being read in order and stuff, I tried to read the second book to Eragon, and I can't remember the name of it now. And I DNF'd it. I was not that interested in it. But Eragon, for some reason, held my interest, and I enjoyed it. But you're right, they can be very complex, and you have to immerse yourself in this totally different world that may strike you or may not. So that's one of the things that I find a little bit challenging when it comes to fantasy. You really have to have a fantasy. You really have to be, in another world for it. And there may be some things you can relate to, and then the majority are things that, in reality, you probably can't. So my pick for starting Discworld would be Guards. Yep. Not familiar with that, but that's good recommendation. There you go. There you go. So Dawn Walters, what do you think? Are you going to be picking up some of those fantasy books? You got some recommendations there. If you like darker stuff, T. Kingfisher has some great stuff. Well, those I've definitely run into those at the Goodwill. I go to the Goodwill every Monday now, because Sunday they close and they restock everything. They put in all their new. They take donations all day on Sunday, but they also stock. They put in all their new donations and stuff. So Monday when they open those doors pretty early, I'm there, and I go almost straight over to the book section and take a look and see what's going on. So yeah, book chat with Pat. Skeleton. Oh, okay. T. Kingfisher now. Oh, all right. So skeleton key asking Pat what T. Kingfisher book. Pat, you're always reading like, how many books do you read at a time? Because I generally read just one at a time, but my focus lately hasn't been great. So I've had a few kind of going just to make sure that I have something that will hold my interest for a while and that I can actually, get something accomplished, because I just don't have the focus. Oh yeah, House with Good Bones. Oh, so that was T. Kingfisher. Okay. All right. And now I'm reading What Moves the Dead. You're getting bold there, Pat. Don Walters, thank you for the recommendations for fantasy. My favorite books to read are thriller, mystery, and historical fiction. And I'm trying to read different genres, open up to new things. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Yeah, there. I think we all kind of lean towards mystery. I don't know, Pat. I haven't seen you read that much in the mystery thriller area, I don't think. But I know historical fiction you read a lot of. Most recently, James. That would be in the historical fiction, I think. And yeah, that seemed like a really good one. Skeleton Key said, I'm reading Nettle and Bone right now. I enjoyed What Moves the Dead, but have a hard time with Myco horror. Not sure what that is. Book Chat with Pat said, I am always reading one novel for my real life book group. Oh, okay. Yep. I'm reading one book for Mental Health May, and I've been reading something for Horror Mayhem. I guess I'm reading 3 books. Yeah, I'm probably down to 3, but I think at one point last month I had like 5 started, and that is very strange for me. I usually do one at a time. So I read a lot of mystery in March. Oh, okay. Yep. Yep. And I have mystery authors that I love. Oh, fungi. Yeah. Mushroom. Mushroom horror, huh? So did none of your pizza had mushrooms on it for the month of whatever month you read that in? That's great. Yeah. So, what else? I'm done. I like I said, I didn't really prepare too much stuff here, because I wasn't sure what direction people really wanted to go with it. So, anybody else have like a question for a recommendation of a book? I mean, maybe we should just all recommend something that we enjoyed. Pat always has some really good ones. Like I say, James recently, The House with Good Bones sounds good. The one I got to read it. I can't remember the exact name of it. One Night on Telegraph Hill, I think. That sounded incredible. I swear the horror writers of the 21st century are doing their best to put me off mushrooms forever. But I do like them on pizza and in risotto. Okay, well, good. I guess they're good for you too. I don't know. I know I eat a lot of them. I enjoy them. Sometimes you can get some of those different ones that are just you can make them so nice and meaty and flavorful. Yeah, they're good. Portobello's, marinate those for a while and put them in the grill pan or something. I don't grill outside, but put them in the grill pan. Get some nice grill stripes on there and a little sear going. They're tasty. Last night at the Telegraph Club. Yes. Yes, that looked like a really, really good book. Really good. I've been exploring science fiction since being on YouTube. Very good. Genre Books has great science fiction recommendations. Awesome. Was historic. Okay, so last night at the Telegraph Club was historical YA and LGBTQ. Okay. Yeah, it looked great. Looked really interesting. BookTube also has me preparing for a month of Westerns. Wow. Okay. Very nice. I actually have a recommendation for a Western. Um, it's called A Land Remembered, and the author is Patrick D. Smith, I think. There's a middle initial that I can't remember, but it's actually about cattle drives in Florida. And so it's really interesting. It follows this fictitious family, um, but they start out in Florida as, cattle people, as cowboys, basically. And it's it's really good. It's really good. And then, it brings it all the way to the future day and how built up Florida has become and everything, and kind of has some messages, about that. But I guess it would be classified as a Western. I would classify it as a Western. Yeah. And I mean, that would be something different. And it's interesting. I read it about 2 years ago. I had wanted to read it for a long, long time. And I finally got a hold of it and sat down with it. And I was not sorry. Really good book. Let's see. All right. Skeleton Key said, my mom was a moral hunter. Oh, yeah. But now the morals seem to be fighting back. Several deaths this season. Oh, okay. Yeah. Got to be careful of that. Book chat with Pat. Yes, I've picked out a couple of Westerns too. You guys are brave. Skeleton Key said, I love Weird West. Weird West is a category. I did not know, but yeah, Weird West is a category, is a genre. So I always include at least one for June on the range. I'm thinking Six Gun Tarot this year. Interesting. Last year I declared Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep a Western? That's great. Well, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know about Weird West. Can you tell us about that? Yeah, let's look it up. I found it as a genre, and I was surprised. Weird West, it says a subgenre that combines elements of the Western with another genre, usually horror, occult, fantasy, or science fiction. Excuse my arm. Yep, Westerns with weird sci-fi and or fantasy elements like zombies, aliens, etc. I have John Jake's Six Gun Planet as a sci-fi Western. Wow, very cool. Now, I've heard of that author, John Jakes. Does he do all science fiction Westerns? Book chat with that. Oh, that sounds fun. Awesome. I didn't know it was a category even. Learn something new all the time on BookTube. So let's see. Can we pick out another weird category? See what else we can find here. Paranormal romance. Anybody read that? Science fiction romance. I probably would have guessed that that's a category. Regency romance, a subset of historical romance. Regency romances are specifically set in the early 19th century during the British Regency era. That's specific there. I write Western steampunk. John Jakes did sword and sorcery and historicals too. Okay, so let's see. Western steampunk. I'll learn what that is. Let's see what this says. What is a steampunk Western? They also call it a cattle punk. It is a derivative or is it a derivative or a separate genre? It's hard to say, as many retrofuturistic genres are mixed and influenced by each other. Okay. The steampunk style officially appeared in 1987, and it generally combines the reflection of the world of the past with contradictory elements of the future. Steam technology is often omnipresent, replacing all other technology and surpassing them in a surreal way. This retrofuturistic trend is developing in many fields such as music, literary art, fashion, and cinema. Steampunk has also contributed to bringing a modern touch to the Western genre by infusing a dystopia, a kind of alternative world that merges and mixes the two influences. So wouldn't like a book like I think there was some elements of that in Blood Meridian, or maybe it was No Country for Old Men. Sorry, I sometimes get those two confused. But I think there was some robots or something, if I remember, some kind of AI thing going on there. John Jakes wrote North and South and the Civil War saga. Okay, that's where I know him from. Okay, that's where I know him from. Yeah. I would argue that Mark Twain wrote the first steampunk. He wrote a Tom Sawyer story that was to poke gentle fun at his friend Jules Verne. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Huh. So, yeah. Two styles were combined. I guess, with that. Tom and Huck stow away on an airship in St. Louis and wind up in Africa. Yeah. Yep, there you go. Well, that's great. Very cool. So, where else we going with this? Let's see. What else is a popular? What else is a popular genre? In fiction, we have, well, literary fiction, like overall, number one. Two, contemporary fiction, romance, historical fiction, thriller and suspense, horror, mystery. Now, we didn't talk about any action and adventure. We talked about science fiction, fantasy, paranormal, Western, dystopian. Then they've got utopian fiction. Now, nobody talks about chick lit. And there's then number 16 is Christian, speculative fiction, magic realism. That's interesting. LGBTQ plus, satire fiction. I think those would be my books that I like by Tim Dorsey about Florida. Those are satire fiction, I would say. Holiday fiction, graphic novel. Now, I just started reading a few of those. I had never read any graphic novels since I read comic books. And there's a website for those specifically as banned books. So if anybody has an interest in those, that's one way to, find out about some that are being banned and things like that, because they're keeping track of it. I think it's part of Pen America. Maybe there's a section for the graphic novels. Oh, then short story. We didn't talk about short story. New adult. I had to look up what that was. That's the main characters are between the ages of 18 and 29. Then you go to middle grade, children's, and then they have women's fiction. Let's see. Twain didn't coin the term, of course. Yeah, no. No, but probably ahead of his time in a way. I often like ergodic. Okay, let's find out what that is. Ergodic literature. A term coined by Espen Aarseth in his 1997 book Cybertext, Perspectives on Ergodic Literature, to describe literature in which non-trivial effort is required for the reader to transverse the text. The term is derived from the Greek words ergon, meaning work, and hodos, meaning path. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Associated with the concept of cybertext, and describes a cyber contextual process that includes a semiotic sequence that the concepts of reading do not account for. Okay, I'm still not really grasping what that is. No extra responsibilities placed on the reader except eye movement and the periodic or arbitrary turning of pages. Wow. So that's like a that's like taking e-reading to a new level. Maybe. I often think Magic Realm is just a way of not admitting that fantasy can be literary fiction. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. And you're saying it could be literary fiction because the characters still drive the story, even though it's fantasy. Skeleton Key said to genre books. I think it's evolved into that now that everybody seems to have forgotten its roots. What would you say are the roots? So the root isn't in fantasy, you think, but in something else? Let's see what it says in here for Magic Realm. Used to refer to a very specific style of Latin American fiction. Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Says fantasy adventure board game on here. Designed by Richard Hamblin and published by Avalon Hill in 1997. Magic Realm is more complex than many war games and is somewhat similar to a role-playing game, and it can be played solitaire with up to 16 players, and game time can last 4 hours or more. Wow. Yep, that's what it says about Magic Realm here. Does not say that it is a genre. Now, did you say, oh, you said magic realism. Magic realism. I'm sorry. My bad. Here it is. A literary style or genre that combines naturalistic details and narrative with surreal or dreamlike elements. Okay. Huh. Magic realism. All right. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Learned about magic realism when studying Spanish. Sure. Midnight's Children, 100 Years of Solitude, Nights at the Circus are all more on the literary side. Realism, not realm. Yeah. Told you. Jorge Luis Borges and magic realism. And it usually has dark elements relating to political and social injustice. Okay, Borges is still my number one favorite. All right. Well, we are almost at the hour here. Does anybody have any final thoughts or questions for anybody? It's a good discussion. There's a lot to know. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I have learned a lot. See, and I always say, know what you're getting into. And I did not know that there were that many genres. But I still think they I don't know, they should maybe be a little more, or maybe they shouldn't be organized. What am I saying? I don't usually like rules, but there should be maybe some rules, like first it's fiction or non, that, then it's, you know, something in the style of writing, then it's, you go to some other thing that further describes it in terms of characters or things like that. I'm running Mysterious Mayhem this month if you want more mystery and chaos in your life. Okay, by this month you mean the month of May, right? Mysterious Mayhem May. Because I'm having issues getting through my May books as it is. So, one hypothetical question. Okay. If a politician claims they met Kim Jong-un in their autobiography, is it fiction or nonfiction? Boy, I don't know. I don't know. Anybody else have thoughts? Oh, yes, for May. Okay, so Mysterious Mayhem for May. Fantasy autofiction. Okay, so the politician meeting Kim Jong-un in their autobiography would be called fantasy autofiction. Would it be an autobiography if you were using fictional elements? Isn't autobiography supposed to be nonfiction? Doesn't mean everything in it is true. Apparently. Well, but it's a politician too, so probably nothing's true. Or is the politician just a liar? See, you're going the same place I was going. Skeleton Key said, my channel tag is Skeleton Key Books. It's hard to find otherwise. Yes. Thanks for leaving that. I appreciate it. I was able to pull it up the last time that you came to the live segment. So, and I was able to, I wasn't even, I don't think I was subscribed to your channel as of the last time, but I have been now. And I've watched a few of your videos during that time. So I'll make sure, I always make sure I put the name of the channel for everybody who, came on the live that I can find. Sometimes people don't really say anything, and that's fine too, whatever they want to do. But then I'm unable to really identify them and say, thanks for coming, visit their channel, or, something like that. So. Let's see. Are they mutually exclusive? Yeah, that's right. Politician and liar. Skeleton Key Books. Sorry, it auto shortens. 3 words run together. Yeah. But yeah, I think when I typed in at Skeleton Key Books, I think I was able to find it. I think at first I just had Skeleton Key and that wasn't working. But I was able to find it. So, if all else fails, I'll go back to what I did the last time, but I'll make sure that I get your channel right, on here so people can hopefully find it and subscribe to your channel if they haven't. Thanks for subbing. Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed everything that I saw on your channel. No problem. No problem. Yeah. Everyone on here, you're some of my regulars that I go to a lot to watch. Of course, Pat, I have to listen to the poem almost first thing in the morning usually. That's the morning coffee. That's become the morning coffee thing, part of the ritual, the morning ritual. And I appreciate it. Thanks for running this. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, that gets you a lot of hits. Yep. Well, whatever helps. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope you got something out of it. I know I did. My little head's spinning with all of this stuff. It's always fun and interesting. Thank you, Skeleton Key. I appreciate that. Thanks for the live stream. It was nice talking with everyone. Yeah, great group. Thank you, everyone. Very much appreciate it. Have a great night and a good weekend. Stay out of the rain. Take care. Genre Books, thanks for staying up late. We appreciate it. Appreciate you. All right. Take care.